Here we go. What's going on, everybody? We're back here on the Six Ring Kane Show. How you doing, everybody? This is Jazz Santana. I'm joined by Dave Eversole, Vishnu, Jock Givens, and Paul Austria. How you fellas doing?
We're doing good.
Good.
All right. Thank you guys for joining us. I know we got a lot to cover. We're going to split it up, man. We're going to start doing some more of this. Just right off the top, we're going to have another show on Friday as well. Friday at 7:30, we will cover the primetime game between the Canes and Louisville. First time, I think it's the first time that we have a top 20 matchup for the Canes in a while, right? It's been a while since we get that. Number 17, baby. What happened to the Pac-12 and the Big Ten and all? What happened to all of them? Did they all lose? Did they all lose this past weekend? Is that what it was?
Well, the Big 12 had a bad weekend.
So did the Pac-12 and the Big Ten.
Yes.
I think the Big Ten gonna be playing football soon.
Yeah.
SEC wasn't great.
And listen, I'll take a ranking any way I can get it. All right, so it's all good. It's all good. Listen, want to recap a little bit of the UAB game. I've had a little bit of a change of heart. I know right after the game, Vish is smiling because I was all down and why do they keep running this inside? Okay, all right, my tune has changed a little bit. All right, we beat UAB 31-14. Clearly, they're a little bit better than I put them out to believe. To believe that they were kind of a Mickey Mouse team and a cupcake, and they're obviously not. We saw what happened with a couple other teams in the ACC. I'm not going to mention names, FSU, and some of the other teams that struggle with some opponents. So 31-14, great effort on the ground, 337 yards rushing from the whole entire stable of running backs. Leading the way, obviously, was Cameron Harris and Don Chaney and Jalen Knighton putting some work as well. Just based off of what everybody saw out there, I kind of want to start off with you guys first and see what your take was on the game. A little bit of recap on what you saw out of the quarterback position, the offensive line, which we got to change there as well. We have a change at left guard, at offensive line here for game 2, and we'll talk about that a little bit more as well. But I want to bring in Jock. I want to start off with you, man. I know you like to evaluate gameplay and what the players and the positions, each position is doing. What did you see out of what's going on? And obviously, we'll do a breakdown of positions as well, and I definitely want to start with Jock on that.
Well, after rewatching the game and seeing the film, I think ground game was well prepared. Like you said, you was tired of seeing the inside zone, but UAB was not respecting. They were not respecting UM's ground game up the middle, so a lot of the plays that UM was springing on, they was able to hit the inside zone because the DN is more focused on De'Aaron King taking it around the corner or reading the block, so he was not respecting Miami's inside O-line and a lot of the big plays. So when Cam Harris broke the run, he was able to get to the cutback lane because they was not respecting up the middle. He got to the cutback lane, run broken tackle, and then he was out the gates. Only thing was wrong with the passing game was I just seen there wasn't enough timing for them. Like they were trying to throw a lot of timing routes, the outs and stuff like that, getting the ball out of his hands quick, and I don't think that was working for him. The long passing game was not a threat either. I just think Miami wanted to run the football against UAB because it was just their weakness, but I think going forward, you guys will kind of see more of a passing game that you guys would like. But with the guy who started the 12 games last year, I think you may see better offensive line play because the Miami offensive line was not that great in the game. I just think the QB run game was helping them out a lot in the interior and was able to block up the assignments a little bit better. But De'Aaron King going to be a factor in the ground game the whole season. Like you're going to see inside zone. They're probably going to add QB power to that, switch power, stuff like that, because that's going to be hard to stop. QB run game is the most dangerous thing in college football, and you're seeing it on Sunday with Cam Newton. It is very hard to stop because you have to surrender extra guys to support the run game.
And I want to bring that up. At first, when we first went over this, I was under the impression that, hey, the play calling was not that good, or maybe it was lazy. And I know Vishnu, you mentioned this a little bit last Thursday night also about the conservativeness of the play calling. And I don't think it necessarily was conservative. I just think that they found something that works so well. And UAB wasn't able, like you said, Jock, wasn't able to adjust and make the plays, and we just kept running the same play. And I don't see why, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? In this sense, right? You don't have to be so creative with a team like UAB. If you're running for 337 yards, then I think you keep running the ball, keep pounding the ball, and work on your run game. And, I'm not too concerned now looking back at it again and looking at the tape a little bit. I'm not too concerned with the timing routes, with the, overthrows on the deep routes with D'Eriq King, because they didn't practice it enough. Maybe they weren't they made adjustments, right? They made adjustments. UAB came out with a defense that they don't normally play. And so, kudos to Rhett Lashlee and the offensive staff for making adjustments and noticing, okay, these are the plays that are going to be open. This is what we're going to run, and we're going to be successful with it, and it obviously shows. But I want to go to Vish on this about not only the offensive line play, but what you saw from a whole on the team.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I think in the moment after the game, I was a little bit more disappointed than I was in retrospect in multiple parts of that. First, after seeing all the teams play on Saturday, I was like, well, we don't look that bad compared to some of these other teams, so maybe we overreacted a little. And then the second,
the team's gonna look like that, though.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, especially without a spring. But I kind of had blinders on, and I wanted to see this high-flying attack, and I think that also clouded my judgment a little. In retrospect, they were giving us the run game. We took it. If they had come in, and to Jakari's point, if they came in and crowded and really tried to take that away, we probably would have thrown more. They were just like, they're going to let us run for 330 yards. We'll run for 330 yards. Why force the throw? The other thing, with the switch at offensive line, getting Clark back in there, Jakari's point as well, the King bailed him out quite a few times, but I'm glad that the staff is evaluating all the positions. We ran for 330 yards. It's very easy to say, don't mix up the offensive line because we had a great running game. Instead, they looked at it, they saw a way to improve, and they made the move there. That's the type of stuff you need. You need to get better after wins, too. We've, in the past, gotten lazy after wins. Yeah. So I really like that they still evaluated everything. Even with that big run number, they went and made a switch to an experienced starter, and we might get better line play in the next game. So yeah. I'm positive about that, too.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because that's something we definitely were gonna bring it up. Usman Traore, not saying that he did terrible, but you see an opportunity to bring in a guy like Jakai Clark, who started 12 games last year. I believe it was 12 games.
Yes.
And he's got some experience playing multiple positions on the line, but he's also a kid that didn't play bad last year. I think he was probably one of our highest rated offensive linemen last year. And you bring him into and you start him in game 2, well deserved. He may have been a little bit banged up before, and so now he comes in, he starts game 2, and that could change things a little bit on the offensive line, right?
Yeah, he might have had a bad count, to be honest. Like that probably factored in. But game 1, you guys can look at it as just an extended training camp game. But now we're getting to see these guys against live reps, how they messing up in game. Oh, okay, he missed the block, but a lot of the times with D'Eriq King able to pull the ball out on the zone read and get to the edge or pull it out and run the play, it probably was hiding it in the game. Like you see the tape, it might have been a lot of misassignments, which I'm sure it was. But when you had a quarterback who can make up for that, like with the razzle dazzle he had on the 25-yard run that he picked up out of the sack or the zone read, like, you know what I mean? So when you're able to have a guy who can cover up for mistakes, it kind of like make it easy for you to be like, hey, let's stick with this. But that's kudos to Manny Diaz improving as a coach. Oh no, we're not gonna let this hold because we're going against Louisville this week, who looked good in the game against Eastern Kentucky. That might not happen.
Well, and I want to bring this to you, Dave. I know, Paul, you and I were on the call this afternoon with Coach Diaz and Coach Lashlee and Coach Baker. But, Dave, Jakar brought up a good point with that scramble, that 25-yard scramble that D'Eriq King had. Listen, is that something that he will be able to do against better defenses? Not only better defenses, but look, listen, I know that we smoked Louisville last year, right? We put up 55 points on them. But this is a different offense. This is a different defense. We have a different offense. We have a little bit of a different defense as well. That kind of play, is that something that D'Eriq King is going to be able to get away with better defensive teams, Dave? Or is it just a matter of he's going to be able to do that regardless of who he's playing?
I think he will. He has a real good anticipation for pressure in the pocket. He was very decisive. When he was going to pull it down, he pulled it down. And not only him, also Chaney and Knighton helped out the offensive line breaking tackles at the point of contact to break off those big runs. Those weren't clean runs. Other than Cam's 66-yard run, a lot of those guys were breaking contact early and making those extra yards on their own. So the offensive line should definitely get some credit, but a lot of that was also on the individuals on those specific plays to turn those 2-3 yard runs into much bigger plays. But yeah, I think King can maintain that. He's got a good feel, I think, after the first game on what he needs to improve on as far as reading what's going on situationally. But overall, leaning on the run game early, I think, is going to set the tone for the season. It's what we were looking for. We want to be a balanced team. And I think King is going to have the ability to make plays out in space more and more because we're able to run the ball inside. He's going to be able to now have those RPOs where he can get to the outside, not only use his feet, but also, take shots down the field, take shots over the middle when he's outside the pocket. So I think we've only seen the beginning of that with King.
Paul, you were at the game obviously as well, but you were also in on the calls today. Coach Rhett Lashlee did also, speak on D'Eriq King a little bit and kind of told us, well, hey, he did okay. He didn't do great, which, we can all see that he didn't do great, but he didn't have to do much, right? Did a lot more with his legs than with his arm. He was still, regardless of some of the pass plays, he was still pretty efficient, right? He went 15 of 24 for 144 yards, maybe not great on the yardage scale, and he did throw a touchdown, no interceptions, which is okay. That says a lot, though, considering he was just okay. What do you think about his quarterback play? What do you think about the comments that Coach Lashlee mentioned and said earlier today? And also, maybe we could get into the defense as well and talk to me a little bit about what you saw on defense.
Honestly, I think he was solid. I mean, Diaz and Lashlee did bring this up today, actually, where they said, like, UAB essentially threw a defense at UM that they'd never played recently. Like, it was a totally different defense from UAB's first game and even last season. So I think a lot of credit has to go to the Miami offense, everyone on offense, for kind of making, adjusting to it and not really kind of freaking out or panicking. And I think even Lashlee also mentioned that, King did complete what's about 66% of his passes. But even King knows that he could have done a little bit better in terms of actually. I can remember that one pitching catch throw to Peyton. Oh my god, that was a big freebie. That should have been.
That's kind of like one of those where you see it's so wide open that you kind of freak out. You don't know what to do, and you just screw it up. Yeah, but
the wide open three.
You ended up screwing. Yeah, you end up screwing it up. It's a wide open layup, basically, is what it was. Yeah. That he screwed up a layup is basically what he did, right? So it happens. What do you think about the defense?
Defense overall was solid. I brought this up to you, during the game where it kind of felt like, both Roche and Phillips were being very disruptive throughout the game, and I always caught Phillips in the backfield, like somehow, whether it was a pressure, whether it was a quarterback hit. I mean, the stat sheet might not really kind of speak about it in volumes, because he only ended up, I think, with two. Let me see. I wrote it down here. I think it was like two. Yeah, Roche had the sack, and then Phillips only had 2 tackles and half a tackle for loss. But trust me, all game he was being very, very disruptive. Like he was making his presence felt. There's no doubt about it. Safety play was really good. I think Blake Baker talked about it today. He thought Bubba Bolden played outstanding. Was all over the field. Same thing with Gervin, and I think Mari Carter could have played a little bit better. And I know we were harsh on DJ Ivy. I mean, I think we all were.
I was thinking about Jock the whole entire time he was getting smoked on a couple plays. I was like, Jock is gonna have a field day with this.
Yeah, I think with Ivy, a couple of times, I think Ivy was playing decent coverage, only that he ended up slipping at like the very last second, which was kind of unfortunate. But it is good knowing that we have guys like Corey Couch and even Christian Williams kind of pushing him. And I think one of the knocks on Ivy as well is that he sometimes shies away from contact and run support. So that could be a factor down the road. But I think that, linebacker play was solid. We talked about Bradley Jennings. He was doing a pretty good job as well. But I think even Baker mentioned today that you could see Sam Brooks kind of pushing him for playing time down down the stretch, which is good. I mean, we all like Brooks and what he brings to the table as well. And Nesta also was played pretty solid. He had 5 tackles, 1 tackle for loss, and a quarterback pressure. I saw him throughout the game. He was pretty solid, and
That's the guy I want to bring up a lot. Is
I
Nesta?
think
Nesta
he was the player of the game.
Yeah, Nesta was all over the backfield, kind of putting pressure up the middle the whole entire game. I liked what I saw out of Nesta. Obviously, I liked what I saw out of the edge with Quincy Roche and with Jalen Phillips. But I was very impressed again with Bradley Jennings. I think he did a good job in coverage and in run support as well. I don't even want to turn. I know I want to Jock to. I'm so scared to tell Jock to talk about the cornerbacks because he's on a rampage when it comes to DJ Abby. But listen. Honestly speaking, all right, yeah, he did go a couple of plays. Of course, that's against better wide receivers, that's going to be more of an issue, right? But I'm having an issue with these guys not turning around, right? They all got their backs turned to the plate too long, I think. And Jock, you're a former defensive back. Talk to me about the defensive back play and a little bit about what's going on defense and what you saw, what you liked.
Well, I just think Miami's DBs were playing with bad eye discipline. That's number one. And whenever you're not getting your head back around to the quarterback, or it's bad technique you're trying to make up for, or you're not plastering together. Like the eye discipline play came when it was a drop pass by UAB, but when they ran the play and the tight end dropped the pass right there on like they ran like a delay. He came back. That's a drop. That's bad eye discipline. Because if you're playing man coverage, the number one thing is stick to your man. You cannot be looking back at the quarterback because he's not throwing the football to you. You look at the plays in Florida State and Georgia Tech game. The guy, when he scored the game, when the touchdown, the DB get his head around and stop looking at the quarterback. He comes back and able to break up that pass. But since he's looking at the quarterback, receiver's able to phase back with the back shoulder. But you have to the play was good. Blades is good. We're not worried about him. I knew Cox was going to kind of overtake Ivy because Ivy was still having mental lapses that he was having last year. And you cannot have that at corner. You playing the hardest position on the field, essentially. That is pretty much outside of quarterback. Corner is the hardest position because you're reacting to someone else. I do think this upcoming week, because Louisville is a lot of eye candy offense, they have to be disciplined with their technique on the outside. Safeties have to have eye discipline good because a lot of eye candy, motions, play action, stuff like that to get you flowing downhill. And if you're playing with bad eyes, you're going to give up the big play, just like they did with the play against Eastern Kentucky when the dude caught the post route. Bad discipline by Eastern Kentucky safety, and they threw it over their head. So the cornerback play was well. I like the safeties. Blades played an efficient game. I would like to see them challenge more up front instead of playing 10 yards off. I'm not a big fan of playing off man because I just feel like in a college game you're giving them first downs with that because they're gonna throw the quick slant. They're gonna throw the smoke screen, and it's gonna be up to you to come rally and tackle. And DJ Alvin's not that great in space and tackling, so that's kind of a lot of the issue. But you have to be able to do that because this week, if they're playing 10 yards off, they're going to dink and dunk the whole field. So I would like to see Baker initiate the challenge and say, hey, we're going to play press man-to-man. Let them beat us. Show us that you're a better receiver group than us, and we could go ahead and it'll work. Because to me, to win a championship, you have to be able to play press man-to-man. Example, LSU, Ohio State, all those teams who are recent champions, Clemson when they won the championship, they were able to line up one-on-one on the outside and say, you know what? Let's go. Like, show me that y'all a better receiver group than us.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, Jock, because and I want to go to the other two guys, Dave and Vish, on this. As far as the cornerbacks playing a little more press coverage, at the beginning I kept saying, well, they're making this kid Tyler Johnson, a kid who threw 15 interceptions last year. They're making him look all worldly, right? They're giving him too much space. He is dinking and dunking because that's all he can do because of the pressure. I start realizing, okay, he's getting a lot of pressure. He's trying to let go of the ball quick, and we're giving them way too much space. For me, and Dave, maybe you can kind of elaborate on this. Correct me if I'm wrong, if these guys are playing a little more press in this game, do they force a turnover or 2 or 3 or an interception, or is it just a matter of, well, they switched up the offense, they weren't able to adjust the offense? What do you think about that?
Well, they were able to get pressure just bringing 4 rushers, but they weren't able to get home a lot. So you didn't bring a lot of 5, 6 man. You didn't bring a lot of extra pressure from the second and off the edge and everything like that. So you're not putting those guys out on the island because you gotta weigh both sides of it. I think if they would have had a little bit more pressure up front with Exotic, a little bit more up tempo on the defense as far as bringing guys off the edge and making them get the ball in his hands quicker, I think we could have forced some turnovers. But we were playing soft on the outside and not really being aggressive up front. So that combination kind of didn't work. You got to do one or the other. You got to bring more pressure up front. I think that's been the success of Miami's having an aggressive defense that makes the other teams play to their strengths rather than the other way around. So it was a little bit of a conservative game plan on the defensive side of the ball, which I think kind of kept us from making those big plays. So I think against Louisville, we're gonna see more exotic looks from the front 7. We're gonna see more pressure from the linebackers. We may see a couple of corner blitzes. Maybe send Ivy off the corner, get him out from the outside. Just do something a little different to give them extra thing to think about. But also maybe the vanilla game plan was you realize that the offense is controlling the game. Your running game is just wearing down the clock. And on defense, you're playing a field position game, really. You're up by a couple scores. You don't convert. Headley pins them back. Special teams, was kicking the ball through the end zone, Borregales. So I think your other 2 phases complemented your defense a little bit better. The defense didn't have to do so much, and you weren't so reliant on the turnover. So you didn't really miss it, being a -1 on the turnover sheet with Pope fumble on special teams being the only turnover of the game. You're -1 on the turnover sheet, and you still win by over 2 scores.
Well,
so that's how the game played out, I think, as well. It wasn't necessary, but they're going to have to force turnovers to beat better teams as the season goes on, definitely.
But for them to bring pressures like that, though, they have to challenge on the outside, though. They have to. You can't bring 5 to 6 man pressures if your DBs cannot hold up in man coverage.
Yeah, and you know what?
You can't have both.
And Vish, bring up a good point, Dave. Was this a classic case of not only the offense being conservative, but the defense being conservative as well, and not showing too much on their exotic plays and maybe different types of blitzes and pressure that they're using? Vish, what do you think?
Well, we're not necessarily talking about being exotic. Like, I like the DBs to challenge their receivers a little bit more. They're not, if we don't think our DBs can stick UAB's receivers, we got a problem. And then I'm going to force their quarterback to repeatedly drop dimes on us. Like, let's see him drop the ball 30 yards down the field right into coverage repeatedly. Then we'll back up. It's almost like we gave him credit for that. And that relates to us not getting home because, like Paul said, and this jumped off the screen too on TV, our D-line was getting in the backfield on every play. But if you're given a 10-yard cushion, just throw the easy pitch and catch, get the 5 yards, 6 yards, and move on. And that's what they were doing. But then on top of that, their first touchdown, that was not a dig. They threw it into the end zone for what was about 20 yards out. Didn't turn around, knock the ball down. If you're given that cushion, you should at least have the play in front of you. And so we just kind of didn't. It just didn't work. And I think, I'll steal Jock's line, but I think we're gonna see Takori Couch play a lot more this week because of some of that stuff.
But you got to think, when you're playing off man, you cannot look at the quarterback because you coming off with the receiver already got a advantage because he's pushing off the ball already. So when you're in off man, you slow pedaling out, slow pedal, eyes to the receiver, and then you get in phase with him. The 10 yards is because either one, you don't got the speed on the outside and they don't trust these guys in man, or 2, they just don't have good man technique. And for DJ Ivey, he struggles sometimes because I think he get undisciplined in his press technique. Lunging at the line, guys are going to fry him off the line. Moment you lunge, you locking your hips, so you cannot get in and out of your breaks like that. So when you playing off, they have to be eye-disciplined. That's the rule number 1 in off coverage because right now, if they're running a 7-yard dig and you off 10, you got to be able to fire your trigger down and, okay, let's drive back down and break up the play. Similar to what you seen J.C. Jackson do on Sunday when I think it was Preston Williams had caught the ball in the middle of the field and he came, dug down, broke down on him, knocked the ball out. So you have to have your eye discipline and off coverage. When you impress man to man, you can be a little bit more okay. Like your eye discipline can be whatever, but he's right in front of you, so you're gonna automatically get eyes to hips, have your feet over there, so you can get in transition with him if you press him.
Good stuff. Good stuff on that defense. I want to bring something up before we finish up with a couple things, but how good does it feel to have a field goal kicker and someone who could put it behind, who could put the ball behind the end zone on touchbacks 5 consecutive times. I know we didn't have to worry about Lou Headley at all. Which, by the way, his new do. Did you see the new do with the tattoos on the side? The kid is unreal, but he obviously
he's not a kid
well.
Though.
I know. He's like 38 years old. I get it. He's older than me.
Grown man.
I know. He's traveled the world by the time he was 16 years old. It's unbelievable. But anyways, obviously we weren't too worried about him. But Jose Borregales, one field goal was a short field goal, so it was kind of a chip shot. But even the chip shots last year were concerning, right? This guy gives us no doubt, even on the PATs and of course on the touchback. How good does it feel to have that game and what that part of your game down and what that's going to do for a tough close game when we're in when we got to hit a 45-yarder against UNC to beat them. I mean that's gonna change right now, and I'm pretty excited about it. You can see the confidence, you can see how excited the guys get even when he kicks the touchbacks. So I was pretty excited. I can't believe I'm spending so much time talking about the damn kicking game.
But you get the point. That's points on every drive.
But it's points.
You can count on them.
It's points, and it's reversing the field with the punts, and it's knowing that you're going to get those points on the field goal. I think is pretty exciting. So I'm looking forward to seeing more of that. But it just feels good to have a kicking game, man. Like we don't have to worry about it at all. When's the last time we really worried about it? I mean, we really didn't have to worry. Michael Badgley 2 or 3 years ago, right? Something like that.
Badgley was a good kicker, man.
Yeah, he was. It was definitely a good kicker. I kind of want to end it off here because we got an exciting show on Friday. We're gonna preview Louisville. We've got a primetime game against Louisville at 7:30 on ABC, and then the next game, back-to-back primetime. Right? We play FSU again. Why are they giving us all these primetime games?
Well, maybe
because nobody else is playing. Maybe because nobody else is playing.
They're the biggest draw on college football at the moment outside of Clemson.
It's unbelievable.
I gotta say, I live in Washington D.C. and when I wear a hat in public, people are throwing the U up at me just randomly. The brand travels. It does travel. It's not just in Miami, and that's why we're always on TV. People want to watch Miami play. People are infatuated with Miami. It is a brand.
Want to see Miami win too, because
it's fun, man. It's fun when Miami wins for everybody. Whether you hate them or love them, it's fun when Miami play. And same thing for me. I was in the airport in Seattle a couple years back, and I was wearing a UM shirt, and they were like, "Hey, it's all about the U." I'm like, "Dude, you're on the other side of the world. What's going on here?" But it's cool to see. What do you guys think about this? Okay, so honestly speaking, let's talk about this a little bit. I know we're ranked 17th in the country. I get it that there's a lot of teams that aren't ranked anymore, like your Oregons and Ohio States and so on. But
that's not our problem, though.
Yeah, it's not our problem. I don't care. I'll take a 17 anytime. But where would we be if those teams would still be ranked? Maybe we'd be in the top 25. Do you think maybe 20 to 25?
Yeah, I think we'd be around 25. I think we'd be right on the cusp.
Yeah, I think so.
I'd say 26, 27, maybe I'd say mid-20s, maybe either in or just out.
Okay, but I'll say Miami will be a top 25 team because if you look at the teams who are going to be ranked in front of them, are they better than Miami 1, 2, what the ACC? I think you only really got 2 teams that may be better than Miami actually, and that's Clemson, North Carolina. That's it.
Maybe Notre Dame is apparently now Notre Dame wants to be part of the ACC.
So in Notre Dame, but at the end of the day, I think those 3 teams would have been ranked in the top 25, and I think Miami would have made it off the De'Aaron King off the off season they had. Miami would have been ranked in the top 25.
And obviously, what you saw out of North Carolina this weekend, does it lead you to believe that they're either that much better or even better than Miami right now? I mean. I know it's game 1 again. Game 1, no spring practice, barely, not a lot of fall. But does it lead you to believe, if we're comparing apples to apples, which is game 1 to game 1, do you see them being that much better or even better than Miami right now? Dave?
No, not at all.
Yeah,
I think Miami's just stronger from top to bottom.
Yeah, I don't see it either. I don't see a team like maybe Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech either.
Tech
I mean, I think
good.
they're going to be legit eventually with a quarterback like Jeff Sims. But I still think that Miami is if not number 2, number 3, right? Because you still have to put in Notre Dame. Although I don't know about they end up crapping the bed every year anyway. So I'm not convinced with Notre Dame either way. But I'm excited to see what's going on this year. Listen, we can't control anything else outside of what we can do, right? And if we just win,
not our fault. Yeah.
It's not our fault. It is what it is. If they didn't want to play, that's their problem.
They made that decision early.
But we got an opportunity here because we got Louisville. This game is huge because they're also ranked 18. We win that, we're going to move up even further. Then Florida State, and then we can go into Clemson 3-0. Like these next two games are huge. We can turn that Clemson game into like a top 10 game.
Yeah, and Louisville's not bad. I think Louisville's actually
these are tough. These are going to take work to win these games, but there's a huge opportunity for this program.
I wonder if they let fans in for this game. I don't know what Louisville did this past week. I'm not 100% sure, but I wonder if they kind of lift the restrictions and have fans for the whole game. We'll see how we go with that because I think Florida.
Sure. I know what FSU did.
FSU had fans.
FSU didn't lift restrictions. They had some distancing that no one followed at all.
They had no restrictions.
I will say this. I do think this game will see the kicking game play a factor in this win.
Oh, I like that in this win. I like that. You see? That's confidence, baby. That's confidence. Dave, what are you drinking today, man?
What am I got? I got a little bit of I got a little bit of Pinot Noir here.
Oh, look at you!
I'm being fancy.
You're so sophisticated. You're being bougie today, huh? I like that.
Yeah, a little bit. It was a rough Monday.
Man, we're a top 20 team now. We gotta raise the bar.
Yeah, I gotta.
Oh my God, it's gonna be when it's top 5. Then.
That's true, man. Listen, if we win on Saturday, you gotta come out with something like badass. All right, no Pinot Noir.
Yeah, I gotta save up the beer for the weekends. I gotta watch the midsection early in the week.
I do think what's gonna be interesting though is not this week. Next week, the 26th, when all the SEC teams are playing, I want to see how Miami will compare to some of those teams down there in SEC country.
Jakari said if we beat Clemson, he's gonna come out on the show without a shirt. It'll be shirtless Jakari. Oh man!
From what I've seen though, I will tell you this: Clemson, not Trevor, the other kid they got quarterback. Boy, that guy got it. He gonna be it, man.
Who for Clemson?
Oh my God!
DJ Ugalele?
Yes, bro. He ready.
Yeah.
He ready right now. I seen him throw that outright. I say, oh my God, what a laser!
Number 1 recruit in the nation. I think last year.
I am upset Miami didn't blow them out because I did want to see Van Dyke.
Oh, that's another thing, right? Tate Martell was apparently suspended for this game, which is not something we know either.
But they say he's not going to be available this week either. I don't think.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say Tate Martell's probably not going to be available ever again.
Yeah, I think.
I don't know that he's still part of this story anymore.
I think he's going to transfer, but I think Tate Martell just. I don't know what he was thinking about. I don't know why he came to Miami. He should have went to a lower level school and just been a quarterback and ripped it because the kid can play.
Which is what he's going to do now. So, from what I hear, from what Larry Bluestein says, who he does speak highly on a lot of players that he thinks are really good. He says Tyler Van Dyke is a real deal. That next year, if De'Aaron King leaves, which he probably will. This is Tyler Van Dyke's team. This is not N'Kosi Perry's team. This is Tyler Van Dyke's team.
It depends on the season he has, though. King has an average season. I will say this. King does have a chance to ascend up the giraffe ranks because after Trevor Lawrence, is the drop-off from 1 to 2 is very huge. I think you'll have a kid from North Dakota State who ain't played. Trey Lance is the number 2 quarterback. The rest of he can move up because it's not like Purdy at Iowa State's that great.
Right.
I think King will have a chance, and depending on a lot of his things depend on how Lamar Jackson plays this year. Russell Wilson, because he's a shorter guy, like well, Russell Wilson's proven, but he has a chance to be the quarterback in the NFL. Just how the league is transitioning.
Talking about players that have a chance or that need to show out and play really well. Again, I'm going to go back to this guy. How interesting is it to see Gervin Hall, back up Mark Pope, a punt returner? I was interested to see that. I didn't see that coming. I don't know why a guy like that, as opposed to maybe someone like Xavier Restrepo or another wide receiver like Mike Harley, actually get a shot at punt return as opposed to a guy like Gervin Hall. His hands that good? Were you guys interested to see that?
Well, you got to at punt return though. You got to be able to feel the ball. So, you would expect the receivers to be so great at it, but some of them really can't catch the ball coming down to them. And another thing is, Gervin Hall could probably be an explosive punt returner because you've seen it at Michigan with Jabril Peppers, Tyrann Mathieu at LSU. Those guys are returning punts. So most times at the punt, you're either gonna have a good receiver, a good safety, a cornerback that who's really agile and nice. Because some of those guys, when they get the ball in their hand on defense, like Ed Reed, for instance, he turns into a monster runner. Like he just cutting back crossfield, that juking people out. So it's but I don't.
And they probably trust him because Pope is explosive, so they probably want someone to a little bit. Hey, we got to make sure we feel this. Let's put the safe guy back there. They probably trust him to make the right decision, feel the ball correctly. Because Pope's definitely. We haven't really seen it at Miami, unfortunately, yet, but he's got the explosiveness. So I think they're really looking for another guy like that. They're probably looking for a little bit safer hands, and Gervin's got that.
And I'll kind of finish on this note as well with the gameplay. Is we finally got, and I think this was all done again, very conservative play calling. We ran the ball really well, but it seems like Brevin Jordan now, when he got the ball in his hands, has a little bit of an extra burst. Right, a little pep in his step when he got that ball, a little yak that he created, and obviously he scored that touchdown. So he had 3 catches, 50-something, 57 yards, I think, in a score. So it was nice to see him kind of get some burn in that third quarter. And then we didn't go away from him. We just went back to that power run game that was working so well. But it was nice to see him, not leave the game with an ankle injury or a knee injury either. So I'm pretty happy to see that. Although we didn't get a lot of guys involved in the passing game consistently, that was nice to see Brevin Jordan kind of get
he's flanking out a lot more this year, so he's not doing all that blocking linebackers and linemen as much as last year. So hopefully he's not as beat up, because last year he was a blocker a lot, and he's hitting people bigger than him the whole game, and that's just gonna wear you down and get you banged up.
But he got to show what he can do at that position for the next level. So I don't blame him for telling him like, hey, I don't need to be blocking. I'm gonna get paid to be a pass catcher in the NFL.
Yeah.
So hey, Paul, quick question. I know they was waiting on an update from the kid that transferred from Florida. I think Walker is his last name.
Isaiah Walker.
Yeah.
Do we have any update on that?
So Diaz did say that. I remember getting an initial report from Gabby Arisha at 24/7 that he did not get his waiver approved. However, when we got the report before the UAB game, it said that he was just out for the game and not for the season. So I think his I'm gonna bring up that word again. His situation is very fluid. I don't think he's medically cleared to play. So that's
right. I think that's what they were waiting for, right? His medical clearance.
Yeah. So I don't really know if I'm not sure if that that waiver to play immediately. I don't know if that's I don't know. They did Diaz didn't he just mentioned the whole injury thing, but he didn't really go into detail about the getting the waiver to play immediately. So I guess we'll just
he said that he might still be able to play towards a little bit later in the year, season. which could benefit the offensive line also, because that's another big kid. So
every position's kind of too deep right now, and it's not especially with no Kalion Herbert, no Zalante Hillary, even those guys might not have played a lot. It's kind of I looked at the depth chart and it's kind of scary looking at there's literally only 10 offensive linemen on the roster spread amongst 5 positions, so they're only too deep. And it'd be really, really big help just to have Walker as another guy, and hopefully, just to kind of have a little more of a security blanket for the offensive line.
Was anybody surprised to see Ryan Ragone get more playing time over guys like Avery Huff and some other guys? Because we saw him in there, he had about 15, 16 snaps. So that was I don't know, surprising, because I think last year when he came in, he didn't make a lot of mistakes. He was pretty sound in his play. So was it surprising for you guys, though, to see him play over a guy like Avery Huff?
I mean, it was the first game, so I'm not surprised by the snaps of anyone. Just because, like I said, it's an extended preseason game. Like, college normally does not have preseason, but the first game of the year, normally all schools play a school they can just beat the living hell out of, see what this guy can do. So just see how they react in the situation. So playing, like, the snaps and the playing time, we shouldn't really feed into it. This week coming up will probably be more of a, like, okay, these are going to be our guys test. Like, okay, this is going to be the guys we're going with across the board in game situation. So I think this week will be more of a telling, like, who's going to be. So do we see Couch more than Ivy? Do we see Jennings more than Brooks? Stuff like that. So do got to give a shout out to Corey Garner. He did win ACC Player of the Week in the ACC. I think I don't know if it was
offensive lineman.
Offensive of the Week. So we got to give him a shout out because he did have an excellent game as well.
I expect good things from him this year. I think he's bulked up a little bit more, and he's been a starter for a couple of years now. So I'm pretty excited to see what he's going to do this year. And another kid that got a lot of play, and Coach Lashley did mention it today a little bit, that he trusts him. He trusts his play. He trusts the way he goes out there and works hard. Is Marshall Few at the slot, right? That's another kid that we saw a lot of. Also, walk on that finally got a scholarship. And do you expect to see Marshall Few a lot more during the year?
I think we're going to see a lot of rotation at that position, just because the didn't make any plays, unfortunately. Like you look at that receivers, and there was not a lot of plays being made there. There was Wiggins' most memorable play was making a penalty. Popes was fumbling a punt. So I think there's a talented kids, and they're going to keep getting shots, but there's talented kids behind them too, and that's a position where no one's established. Harley's got some experience, but the rest of it's wide open. So I think until people step up and grab those positions, they're going to keep rotating them in. So who's going to make plays for them?
Yeah, I think we need to see some guys step up in this next game to kind of, like you said, establish themselves as the go-to guys, because we don't have KJ Osborne anymore or anything like that to kind of be our security blanket. So definitely important for that to happen. I want to thank you guys. We are going to do this again Friday night at 7:30. We'll preview Louisville game, and we'll talk about some upcoming news as we continue to get it. Jock, where can they find you on social media and other outlets?
King Jock 24.
Nice. Paul, where can they find you, my man?
So first and last name, Paul Austria _. You can find me with that username or tag or whatever on all social media outlets.
Awesome. Vish.
At VRP2003 on Twitter.
There it is. David Eversole.
At David W. Eversole. Sorry.
Vish was born in 03.
No,
yeah,
no,
right.
I'm much older than that. That's the year I graduated from Miami. That's how fucking old I am. So.
Also,
yeah.
we're gonna.
I just realized that kids are catching up to me now, where they're like bored the year I graduate from college. So I gotta probably change that handle.
It's terrible.
There's gonna be another post-practice press conference with who is it? It's Jalen Phillips. I think you got the email too, Jazz. It's Jalen Phillips, Corey Gaynor, and Bradley Jennings at 11:30 a.m. So I will be live tweeting quotes from that conference as well as Jazz. I think so. Be sure to follow me and Jazz, and we will give you live quotes and live updates.
Well, we'll be live tweeting.
What's your Twitter, Jazz?
What I was going to say, I'm getting there. Twitter and all social media, it's at Jazz Santana or Jazz _Santana 17. But most importantly, follow us on at 5 Reasons Canes. That way you can get the latest Miami Hurricanes news, game times, the whole nine. Maybe we'll even talk about Dave's drink of choice there throughout the week to see what we can come up with. Man, we might put up a poll or something, or do some sort of raffle or giveaway, man.
but
Ethan needs to send me some Biscayne Brew.
Biscayne Bay
Biscayne
Brew.
Ethan.
Shout out to Biscayne Bay Brew, of course,
What?
absolutely.
One thing we do need to follow though is the ACC put out a report I think Saturday about them needing the 8 teams to continue the season. So that's something I think we should be monitoring closely if we got like
and we will. You know where we will be monitoring that? On at 5 Reasons Canes. See you guys next time, Friday, 7:30 p.m.